What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Unique Uniques. Today I have 4 uniques to show you. These really aren't super low level or anything. They actually are pretty interesting, but I didn't think I could get 5 minutes from all of them, so I threw them all together so that we could hopefully get at least a little bit of time to talk about these. So let's just go ahead and get started. If you guys hear jingling going on, that's my cat running around, so I do apologize about that. Up first, we're going to talk about a unique that's actually a flying knife throwing weapon. You could probably use it for a throw barb, probably be really good for that. It's called Shard of the North Star. Now this one's going to give you 12% chance to cast level 8 meteor on striking. That's that druid ability where it has like the giant ball of fire that you send out. Usually druids that are elemental druids would be using that. You get a 12% chance for that to actually cast when you're actually throwing this item. This is an elite item, so it does do quite a bit of damage, and it actually gets better after this. So it gives you 297% enhanced damage, which can roll higher, but it also adds 50 to 100 fire damage, adds 50 to 100 lightning damage, adds 50 to 100 cold damage. That's a lot of effing damage. So this could definitely be used by a tri-elemental druid, or it could be used by a throw barb. You might be able to get away with using this with maybe some kind of throwing assassin. I've seen people make assassin builds like that before, so I mean, I don't know how well that would actually play, but if you've been able to make some kind of build with the assassin that actually includes throwing weapons, please let me know, because I have seen it before and I've seen some pretty cool looking ones, but I've never actually tried myself. So it also gives you 6% life stolen per hit, which is pretty cool to have on something that you're throwing. So it's not even like you have to be directly in their face, smashing them over and over again to get the full benefit out of life stolen per hit. So that actually, I think, is a lightweight game changer, just because that means that you don't ever really have to go in there to really take advantage of that life stolen per hit, which is really nice. Freezes target by 3, so that is definitely good, especially to have on a throwing knife, because when you have it on a throwing knife, everybody is coming towards you, right? And you don't want to be within melee range because you are a ranged character. So when you hit something and it slows down, that is freaking fantastic for you, and you should be loving that. It also gives you all resistances plus 39. That can as well roll higher than that, and you have to love any weapon that gives you any kind of resistances. So this item right here, I think, is actually freaking cool. I would definitely love to use this if I happen to be the kind of player that liked playing ranged characters, because this one right here in particular is pretty badass in my opinion. Okay, so next up we are moving on to Strigi's Club. At least that's how I'm going to pronounce it. If I'm mispronouncing it, I apologize. But I'm not very good at pronouncing things, especially when I've never heard them actually spoken to me. Now this one's going to give you +1 to all skills. It also gives you 316% enhanced damage. That can also roll higher. It gives you ignores target's defense. Now we have talked about ignores target's defense before on this channel, but just for a quick recap, that doesn't mean that when you hit a target that it will completely ignore the target's defense, because ignores target's defense actually caps at 95%, and it also factors in monster level to player level. So if you're going up against a monster that is like way out leveling you, then that will be a factor as well. So just be aware of that, because sometimes, because you know how you can put on that filter where you're swinging whatever it is that you're swinging, and sometimes you see the X. So I have had people be like, why am I still not hitting things when I have ignore target's defense? That's why. This will also give you +1 to bash, which is really cool. So you could use this weapon on a barb, but you also could use this weapon on a druid. Now, +1 to bash really isn't that great, but if you did use this on a druid, boom, now you have bash, and you get knockback with that. And if you've been watching this channel for any length of time at all, and you've heard me talk about knockback before, then you probably already know that I absolutely hate knockback and think it is the worst affix in the game. I know a lot of people will fight me over that one, and they'll probably be like, nah, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, maybe if I'm a ranged character, I'd like knockback, but usually I'm either a caster or I play as a barb or maybe a druid, but I always want to go in there and hit things, and I hate it when they like fly backwards after I hit them, because then most of the time I have to run after them and then run up to them, hit them in the face again, and it's just a waste of time, in my opinion, to me. Now, I understand everybody has a different playstyle, but for me specifically, I don't really like knockback. It also gives you plus 75 to life, which is actually quite a bit, especially on a weapon. Now, you're also going to get cold resist plus 40% and lightning resist plus 40%, which again is a lot of resist to get on one item. This one item alone, you could probably remove a couple charms from your inventory just so you don't have to have as much charms in your inventory if you just happen to be using this. And it also gives you 50% damage to undead, which I don't really care about, never will. And we can now move on because that's pretty much all there is for that. So this one, I really dig the name of this one. It's called Scream of Despair. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I like metal music, obviously, you could probably tell. So maybe that's the reason why I like it. But this one will give you 25% chance to cast level 8 Terror Windstruck. That is really cool. What that does is it basically makes the monsters run in fear from you. So if you are basically getting gang, you know whatted, and there's absolutely no way for you to get out of it, at least now, if you happen to be using this wand, then you have a better chance of surviving, because some of those monsters will simply run in fear, which is always a good thing. Now, you also get +2 to necromancer skill levels, which is also really cool. Now, this is only a required level of 32 and is a normal item, but usually by the time you're level 32, if you've been playing Diablo 2 for a little while now, you're either going to be in the beginning of Nightmare or just finishing up normal difficulty. So I don't know how effective this would actually be once you get into Hell, because I just feel like maybe they should have made it to where you could equip this a little earlier. But then again, there are a couple of other factors in play here. For example, +3 to Bone Prison is huge, and +5 to Blood Golem is huge. And when you combine that with +2 to Necromancer skill levels, that's really more like +5 and +7. So that is a huge jump in power, which means maybe you could take this into Hell if you really know what you're doing. But if you don't, maybe steer clear of this one. There are a couple more affixes though I would like to go over. For example, 20 of the strength on a necromancer is extremely valuable. So I think that right there alone might give me a reason to put this on sometimes if I had no intention of ever doing so. How many times have you been playing this game and you thought to yourself, man, I really want to equip this helmet. I really want to put on this armor piece. I really want to put on this belt. Something like that, right? But you don't have enough strength to do so. Well, if you happen to have this just sitting around in your stash, 20 is probably enough to get you to where you need to be so that you can do so. So that is definitely a plus on this one. You get +50 to life, which is a giant leap forward in life, +20 to mana, which is great. It's not the best, but is pretty effing good still nonetheless. So yeah, this is a really good weapon too. Pretty much every weapon I've picked here for the episode today, I've thought were like on the cusp of being freaking god level, you know, like they're not the best. But when I say that, I'm comparing that to crazy items, right? Like that's the thing, like I want to emphasize real quick, because I feel like I've never actually talked about that. Sometimes I'll look at an item and you might be thinking, man, why does this guy think that this thing sucks? Well, compared to Death's Web, this thing kind of sucks. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm not saying these are the worst items in the world. A lot of them are actually pretty effing good. But when But something to impress me is gonna have to be like Def Web level or above, right? Because that's what I'm used to seeing. I'm out there looking for that kind of stuff. I want to find the best items in the game. I'm sure you want to find the best items in the game, you know, because there's really two sides of that argument, isn't there? There's some people that are going to be like, yeah, why is this guy, you know, why is he being negative and being like, hey, you know, this item isn't really all that bad. But then again, there's people who have been playing for like 20 years who only care about the top tier of these items, and they would look at something like this and just be like, oh, what? Scream of Despair crowned, you know? So I'm not saying it's a bad item. It's a pretty cool item. Let me pick that back up because I like to save these. There we go. But again, it isn't a Death's Web, but it's still pretty badass. So don't get me wrong there. So the next one I'm going to talk about, see, my second favorite character to play is an assassin. And this is another one that I think is really cool for assassin, and I'm really happy that they added so many more options for the assassin. This one's called Pleasures of the Perverse. Again, I kind of dig the name there. That's pretty badass. Whoever's coming up with these, I think you've been doing a great job, and more power to you, man. So we got +2 to assassin skill levels. You have to love that. 30% increased attack speed. 223 enhanced damage, which once again, sorry guys that I'm repeating myself, can roll higher. 98 kick damage, which if you are playing a kick sin is going to help you out. But if you're playing a trap sin, not really going to do much for you. You get +2 to weapon block, +3 to dragon claw. So I'm going to stop before I get to that level 20 bone armor, because I'm looking at this now and I'm thinking about when would I be using this? What kind of character would be using this? What build should be using this? I think this is for somebody who wants to be a Mosaic assassin, but they're not quite there yet. So this is a good placeholder for Mosaic before you can get to Mosaic. And maybe you can find 2 of these, and imagine the possibilities if you found 2 of these. And now you got +4 to assassin skill levels, +4 to weapon block, and what is that, +6 to dragon claw. Like, that's freaking awesome. And actually no, because assassin skill levels is going to factor in for the weapon block and the dragon claw too. So that's really more like +4 weapon block and +5 dragon claw. So this is pretty effing nice, man, and that can definitely hold you over until you get that Mosaic rune word, because anybody that's played assassin will tell you if you're not playing a Mosaic assassin, you might as well go home, because Mosaic assassin, hands down, in my opinion, strongest build in the entire game. And once again, I will die on that hill. Definitely has to be the strongest build in the entire game. If you don't believe me, I guarantee you know who Llama is, Mr. Llama. Guarantee you know that, because if you found this channel and you turn around and tell me that you don't know who Mr. Llama is, I'm gonna think that you're lying to me, because let's be real, I'm a super small little channel and we all are fans of Diablo 2. So once again, if you don't believe me, go watch the video that Mr. Llama did where he actually tested out the strongest builds in the game, and the freaking Mosaic assassin made it up to, what was it guys, like 500 players difficulty level? It was something crazy like that, where it was still performing well in the Chaos Sanctuary under like 500 player difficulty level. Like, holy effing crap. Now, not only do you get all of that good stuff there with Pleasures of the Perverse, but you also get level 20 bone armor, which is some great armor that you can have on an assassin, especially if you are a martial arts assassin, like this is obviously geared towards, because now you can go in and attack things even more and be worried even less, because when you get hit, you now have bone armor, which is definitely going to help you out, definitely going to up your survivability. And the assassin is already a tank. She's already a tank that is hard to destroy, and now you are doing nothing but making her beefier and tankier, and it's just freaking awesome. Gotta love it. Gotta love the assassin. Gotta love this item. And yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. If you just listened to that entire ramble, I appreciate you, and see you guys next time. So late.